So, if Colonel Hamilton's Treasury bill is reintroduced, Congress will kill it again.
Mr. Madison, I am tempted to seize your Congress by their separate heads and knock them into a collective jelly.
And what would that achieve?
Unity of some kind.
Yes, but what kind? That's the question.
You cry speculation. That's not the issue at all, and you know it.
I know nothing of the sort. On the contrary.
You deny your South is afraid the North will profit a little more.
And will they? Will they?
That's beside the point. Yes, they will. What of it? The crying need of this infant government now is confidence in its financial policy.
Exactly, and is this the way to achieve it?
Question. Can the wise and learned congressman from Virginia propose any better plan?
Colonel Hamilton, personalities are not the issue.
Gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Madison, for your views. Of course, it is not in this office to interfere with the people's legislature.
Thank you.
But, Mr. President,
Congress must decide the merits of your bill.
Good day, Mr. President. Colonel Hamilton.
my congratulations. You've won a noble victory over unity and honor. I warn you, sir.
Slow, Colonel. Slow but sure. That must be our political maxim.
I'm afraid I may have to resign.
Now, my boy.
I can't build a treasury out of thin air.
I know. Check these figures for me. We'll go over these this evening. Mrs. Washington is expecting you, and your lady.
Mrs. Hamilton is confined to bed.
She is. Anything wrong?
On the contrary.
Another?
On the way.
My God, you little men. My congratulations.
Thank you. I'll check these. Is there anything else?
No. Yes.
His Excellency's ambassador to the court of France, Mr. Jefferson.
Oh, good. Show him in.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jefferson? In New York?
He arrived last night. I thought you knew, Alec.
Providence is with us. Mr. Jefferson could easily persuade the South to vote for my Treasury bill. Now, I have never met him, so if you would speak to him...
I can't do that.
Why not?
Again? Must we go over the ground again and again
Well,
and
it
again?
seems nothing but a catastrophe will make any impression. But I am optimistic. I expect very shortly we shall see a colossal catastrophe.
General Washington.
Mr. Jefferson, welcome home. Let me look at you. 6 years.
6? A long time.
Yes. How was Patsy's wedding?
Beautiful. For Mrs. Washington,
Oh,
for you.
you shouldn't have.
Jefferson, mon vieux!
Billy Humphreys, how are you?
Assez bien. Notre charmante Perry, comment va-t-elle?
Changed. Everybody in Paris now talks politics. You know how the French love to talk.
Et la chère reine et le roi, how are they?
Oh, the king hunts one half the day, drinks the other half.
Oh la la.
The queen weeps but sins on.
Méchante.
My God. Lily bulbs, the loveliest species I've ever seen. A magnificent flower. Found them in the south of France.
And rice seed.
From Italy.
Beautiful grain. Oh, sit down, my boy, sit down.
Thank you.
And you found Virginia?
Yes.
Crops?
Rye is splendid. Wheat's good. It's going to be an excellent harvest.
So I hear.
Of course, my own lands are almost ruined.
These damnable overseers, ignorant, careless.
Mine complained that the rabbits always ate the outside row of cabbages.
Ha, what did you tell him?
I told him to remove the outside row.
Good.
Your Excellency, I believe you have an appointment.
All right, Humphreys, later.
Monsieur l'ambassadeur, Excellency.
Tell me, do little boys tease him in the street?
The Republic.
The Republic.
Recognize it? Excellent Madeira.
Patsy and I shopped all over Paris for it.
Mr. Adams was most pleased with the wines you sent him. But his daughter was disappointed in the purchase you made for her.
Mrs. Smith? Now, what did I... Paris corset. It didn't fit.
No.
Oh, what a tragedy.
It was very pretty, too. Mrs. Adams showed it to Mrs. Washington. Pink ribbons. The ladies were heartbroken.
Well, they mustn't despair. Tell Mrs. Smith to set it aside for a while. There are ebbs in this world as well as flows.
So, Lafayette is trying to establish a republic in France.
Slowly, by constitutional reform. In my rooms in Paris, he drew up the first Bill of Rights for France. People everywhere are looking to our experiment. There's a great danger there, though. I toured France incognito, visited peasants in their hovels. The poverty and the ignorance, appalling. If they should ever lose Lafayette...
Anarchy.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. President, you look tired.
I'm unaccustomed to this indoor life. I need activity.
Long walks, the best exercise.
It's not permitted. The dignity of the state forbids it, so I'm told. When we lived on Cherry Street, I couldn't go down the block without a parade. But I can tell you, since we moved here to Broadway, it's a godsend. Now, occasionally, I can steal out that door to the backyard, across the meadow, and down to the river.
What do you do down at the river?
Go fishing. Yes, I've had 2 attacks of illness this year. I doubt if I'd survive a third. Oh, well, tomorrow or 20 years from now, we're all in the hands of a good providence. Try one of these biscuits.
Thank you.
I'm organizing the ministers of the various departments into a cabinet to advise me. As our Secretary of State, you're...
Mr. President. You remember you did give me the option of refusal.
You can't mean to refuse.
I must.
Why?
I've been away so long. I know nothing of the duties of this office. I may bungle it.
We're all groping. This will be a government of accommodation.
I'm sorry. I want you to understand. Whatever spice of political ambition I may have had as a young man has long since evaporated. I think I've done my share. Now I want to go home. I must finish my house. 20 years it's waited. Patsy and her husband have come to stay with me at Monticello, and to be honest with you, I've lived with my children so long, I've come to depend on their affection and comfort.
Tom, have you ever thought of marrying again?
No.
She was a wonderful woman, your Martha.
Yes? When I came home, she was in every room. I've learned one thing. For me, there's no peace anywhere in the world but Monticello. Do you understand why I must refuse your offer?
Excuse me, sire.
Yes, Humphreys, what is it?
The theater box and guard of honor are arranged.
Oh, good.
And I've discovered that the ambassador to the Sultan of Turkey is going to be present. Suggestion, Excellency.
Yes, Humphreys.
Wouldn't it be advisable to return to 6 horses on the coach?
I thought we had compromised on 4.
When I was at the court of Louis, all the
Colonel
heads...
Humphreys, I recognize the importance of these forms to the dignity of a state, particularly one so young as ours. Understand, I know nothing of these matters. I've never been to the courts of Europe. I'm just an old soldier. I leave these ceremonies in your hands. But it seems to me that 4 horses and that canary coach with the pink and gilt angels ought to be enough to impress even the ambassador of the Sultan of Turkey.
But, sire...
All will do. That is final. On second thought, I won't be free to go to the theater tonight. Cancel it.
Sire, if I may...
Don't sire me! How many times must I tell you? By the eternal, I am not a king! I am the elected head of our people. This is a republic. Can't you get that through your skull? All right, go.
Very well, Mr. President.
I was offered the crown
The crown.
twice. I don't want to be a king, Tom.
I know you don't, Mr. President.
You've no idea. Every eye is on this office. Some of our people suspect me. But as God is my judge, I would rather live and die on my farm than be emperor of the world.
I know. And yet, since I've been back, particularly in New York, I find alarming yearnings. Our fashionable folk appear to be looking wishfully to a king and court of our own.
Yes, I suppose so. On the other hand, there is equal danger of anarchy. We came close to it while you were away. We walk between these two pitfalls. Our people don't take to discipline, but without it we shall be lost. We've yet to see how large a dose of freedom men can be trusted with. Even in the earliest days of Virginia, you were close to them. You seemed always to understand them. In this office, I find myself far removed from direct contact with them. I need your agency. I need their faith in you. This is the last great experiment for promoting human happiness. I need the hand that wrote, "All men are created equal." I can't let you go home yet, Tom. I need you here.
It's for you to marshal us as you see fit.
Good.
It's a great honor. I hope I can be worthy of it.
Mr. President,
I do not wish to be disturbed.
His Excellency the Minister of Spain is arrived to pay his respects.
I thought
it had
that-
already been arranged, sire. Sir, just the courtesies.
Oh, very well. You will excuse me? It will be a few minutes. There are some journals there.
I have my tariff reports to study.
Aha.
You're Jefferson.
Yes.
I'm Hamilton.
The Hamilton.
Alexander.
Your servant.
Yours.
I read your Federalist papers when I was in France. Brilliant. You've given me a great deal of pleasure.
Well, thank you.
Yeah? Troubles?
God, yes. You have a pleasant voyage home.
It seemed forever.
Of course. Have you accepted the Secretary of State?
Yes.
My congratulations. We must work in concert.
I'm such a stranger here, I shall lean on you.
I'm afraid it's I who need your help. Mr. Jefferson, it's enough to make any man who loves America want to weep. Oh, forgive me. I shouldn't burden you with this. It's a matter of my own department.
If I can be of any assistance.
It's often been remarked that it's given to this country here to prove once and for all whether men can govern themselves by reason, or whether they must forever rely on the accident of tyranny. An interesting thought, Mr. Jefferson.
God, yes. We live in an era perhaps the most important in all history.
An interesting thought. An awful thought. For if it is true, then we dare not fail.
No.
But we are failing. We haven't that much foreign credit. The paper money issued by the states is worthless. We are in financial chaos. The galling part is that I have a remedy at hand. The solution is so simple. A nation's credit, like a merchant's, depends on paying its promissory notes in full. Now, I propose that the federal treasury pay 100 cents on the dollar for all the paper money formerly issued by the states. Our credit would be restored instantaneously.
Mr. Madison spoke to me briefly of your bill last night. It seems there's been some speculation in this paper, and he fears...
Madison. I loved that man. I thought so highly of that man. I swear I would not have taken this office except I counted on his support. Now he's turned against me.
Mr. Madison has a good opinion of your talents, but this speculation...
I don't want his good opinion. I want his support. Will you use your influence?
I've been away 6 years. I'll need time to study the facts.
There is no time.
3 or 4 weeks.
3 or 4, for God's sakes, man, don't you understand what I'm trying to tell you? The North is about to secede.
Secede?
Hasn't the president told you?
No.
Unless my bill is passed, there is every prospect the Union will dissolve.
I'm aware there's a great deal of tension here.
Walk in on a session of Congress tomorrow.
I see evil on both sides. However, it seems to me that if the Union is at stake, reasonable men sitting about a table discussing this coolly should arrive at some compromise. Have dinner with me tomorrow night.
Delighted.
I'll invite a friend or two.
Mr. Madison?
I can't promise anything. He's bitterly opposed to your plan.
I have a way to sweeten the pill. The cost of living in New York has become so unreasonable. There's talk of moving the capital.
Yes.
It's already been promised temporarily to Philadelphia. Give me my bill, and I can promise Madison the nation's capital will go to the South, permanently. Now, I was born in the West Indies. I have no local preference. But for the sake of the great man, I would like to see it go to Virginia.
Well, I'll bring you together and sit at the table to see you don't shoot each other.
Fair enough.
You see, Colonel Hamilton, we must never permit ourselves to despair of the Republic.
My dear Jefferson, if I haven't despaired of this republic till now, it's because of my nature, not my judgment. Your address?
23 Maiden Lane.
23 Maiden Lane, that's 7.
Make it 7:30.
You two gentlemen have met.
Yes. What impression did the Spanish ambassador leave with you?
Like all the rest, they regard us as a contemptuous joke.
Well, we shan't despair, huh? 7:30. Excellency.
A remarkable young man.
Yes. They call him the Little Lion.
The Little Lion. Yes, I can see it. Shall I review my report on the French tariff situation?
Oh, yes, do.
Before I left France, I had conversations with Monsieur Neckar on the matter of fishing rights. During the past year, some 24,000 francs Nice day, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Have you a fishing pole for me?
How did you guess? You don't mind now?
I can't think of a better way to discuss the affairs of a republic.
Sergeant! Sergeant!
Yes, sir.
I'm not to be disturbed by anyone. I'm in conference with my Secretary of State.
Yes, sir.
If Humphreys caught me in these clothes, I'd never hear the end. What of the servants?
Don't they approve of democracy?
No. Come.
Pumper, Matt, pumper.
Hamilton wants his horse saddled right off.
Is he leaving his party so soon?
Yep.
Well, they ain't hardly started a belching yet.
Fire's getting cold, Matt.
I'm a pumping.
Says he wants her saddled right off.
We heard you.
Look, I'm only telling you what he...
All right.
Yeah. Kind of touchy, you two today, ain't you?
Standing by listening to that Tory talk out there. Gets me mad.
Saddle on, Matt.
All right. Bragging about the millions they made in paper money. I keep thinking about my sister.
And me? Don't forget me. $300 right out of me pocket.
Know what one was a saying? President ain't a good enough title for the head of the United States. Says there are presidents of cricket clubs and fire companies.
Well, what the hell do they want? Royal Highness?
That's it.
Do you mean that?
That's what they said. Cripe's sake.
Afternoon, sir. Well, afternoon, Matt. Jemmy, you tell my children they're to write me more often, will you?
I'll do that.
I want to hear about everything at Monticello, from Patsy to Grizzle.
Who's Grizzle?
It's our pet pig.
Afternoon, Mr. Jefferson.
How are you today, Jacob?
Midland. I forged them fittings you ordered. They're over there on the tool bench.
Fine.
Well, Smith, my horse is limping.
Sprunk his shoe?
Think so.
Find out for you in a minute.
Give my nag a good going over, too, would you, Smith? I'm off on a long journey.
Oh, where to, Mr. Madison?
Home.
Virginia.
Ah, nice weather.
Ideal.
The lilacs will be in full bloom, the golden willows, and the almond trees.
Not so early.
Oh, yes, in Virginia.
Is that so?
Festive crowd out there.
Some of Colonel Hamilton's friends giving him a party.
Celebrating the passage of his bill, I suppose.
Yep.
Yes. Now, James.
Well, plague on it, Mr. Jefferson.
I have to agree with Mr. Jefferson. Ad necessitatis rei.
No matter how many fine Latin names you call it, a pig is a pig.
This was the lesser of two evils.
You honestly think so?
I do, yes.
And you, Mr. Jefferson?
I don't know. I hope so.
You've seen the newspapers, of course.
Yes, I've seen them.
Lots of feeding your mare does. She's asking for it.
All right, give her some oats, please.
Senator Monroe?
Yes, it's her dinner time.
Mr. Jefferson?
Well, I've fed my horse already, thank you, Matt. A couple of carrots, though, so he doesn't feel neglected.
Got some in the kitchen.
You sprung it all right.
Did.
Uh-huh.
Well, shoe her at once, will you, Smith?
Yes, sir.
You've done an excellent job on these.
Are they all right?
They're good. You know your craft.
Ought to. 20 years of doing it. Making another one of your inventions, are you?
A convenience.
What is it this time?
It's a sort of closet on pulleys that runs from the kitchen to the dining room. Brings up the food hot and the wine cold right in, without people running up and down stairs.
What do you call this here invention?
A dumb waiter.
A dumbwaiter? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. A dumbwaiter. So that's pretty good.
Jacob,
Yep.
I need your advice.
About what?
This money bill that we've just passed.
Oh?
What do you think of it?
Don't like it much.
You don't?
Nope.
Because of the speculators?
Yep.
I see. Still, it's done the country considerable good.
Maybe.
What do your neighbors think about it, generally?
They don't like it much.
I see.
Settled yet? He's waiting.
Tell Mr. Jefferson, Ned, he's asking about the money bill.
It's a blood-sucking swindle, Mr. Jefferson. Look at my sister. Her husband was killed at the Battle of Saratoga. Left her 2 little ones and some paper money they gave him. Now, she's been saving that for years. 2 months ago, the speculators told her it'd be years before it was worth anything, if ever. Got her to sell it for $40. $600 worth. And they got Jacob's savings, too.
They did?
900.
From the revolution. His pay.
Now, that ain't what we fit the revolution for.
No.
I'll tell you, it's getting time we got up all
My horse ready, Jacob. Mr. Jefferson, I thought I saw you in the courtyard. I have some very good reports for you.
Matt, he's ready. Your horse is ready, Colonel Hamilton.
Thank you. Fine day, Jacob.
Yep.
Well, he's a bit sour, isn't he? Liver?
Speculators.
Jacob? A shame.
And Matt. And the potboy.
Why didn't they hold on to their paper?
Apparently they did for almost 7 years.
It's too bad. They should have had more faith in their government.
They had no way of knowing the bill was about to redeem that paper. I'm very disturbed by this.
You are?
Very. Apparently a handful of speculators Many of them in high places have taken advantage of their knowledge of this bill to feather their own nests.
Now, don't paint it worse than it is.
There's been a good deal of bitter talk.
The Treasury can't ask every man who presents a paper note how he came by it. At least, in this way, these people received something.
There must have been some way to avert this speculation.
Now, look here, I don't quite understand your attitude. If we're going to develop this country, we've got to create great personal fortunes. Those men out there are building manufactories and industry. They're building America.
Well, good. Let's encourage them, but not at the expense of the people.
You and Madison. The people whisper, you tremble.
Well, that's as it should be, isn't it?
I think this country's only hope now lies in a moneyed aristocracy to protect it from the indiscretions of the people.
And this bill is to lay the foundation for such an aristocracy?
Exactly.
I wasn't aware of that. You said nothing of that to me. I'll be quite honest with you. I regret that I've been made a party to your bill.
Made? Made, you say? You've been in politics 21 years. Don't you play the innocent with me? Are you dissatisfied with your bargain? Is that it?
Bargain?
The capital of the nation is going to your state, not mine.
For God's sake.
Frankly, these alarms smell of hypocrisy. 1 minute you say you know nothing of Treasury matters, and the next you set yourself up as an authority.
What do you suggest, Colonel? Should we scrap the Constitution at once?
The Constitution?
You supported it?
I had no choice. I could not stand by and see this country go down in convulsions of anarchy. I must confess, it is my opinion that this government won't last 5 years. However, since we've undertaken this experiment, I'm for giving it a fair trial. But be certain of this. While it lasts, it will be an aristocratic republic. Any man who wants a democracy, let him proceed to the confines of some other government. Good day, gentlemen.
I apologize. I was wrong. Forgive me, Jimmy. I should never have asked you to compromise.
We can't escape it, Tom. He's trying to administer the Constitution into something it was never intended to be.
I have a statement from a man who swears that Hamilton gave him money out of the public treasury to speculate with.
Don't believe it.
There are also some letters in Hamilton's hand.
Don't believe it. He's personally honest. I'll vouch for that.
Will you at least confront him with these letters?
Oh, I can't.
Why not?
Oh, for God's sake, James.
Fight fire with fire!
I'm no salamander. Fire is not my element.
His bill has made the fortunes of half the prominent men in the Federalist Party. It's a ring he's put through their nose. And it's clear enough, God knows, where he intends to lead them. You can't allow that. You've got to fight him. You've got to wrest the leadership of the Federalist Party away from him.
If there's one thing that makes me sick to death, it's the whole spirit of party politics. James, if the only way that I could get to heaven was on the back of a political party, I'd rather burn in purgatory.
Your horse is ready, Mr. Jefferson.
Good. Thank you, Jacob.
Ready your horses, gentlemen?
Yes, please.
Now, you're wrong about the letters, James. For the rest, his bill has values. But it's hurt our people. Naturally, if he does try to pervert the Constitution, I shall oppose him. But I must do it in my own way. I'm not a brawler. I'm not a politician. Say howdy to my neighbors for me. That matter that I spoke to you of.
Yes. I know how important it is to you.
Yes, very. Have a pleasant journey, Jemmy. Hurry back. A game of chess tonight?
This isn't the Jefferson we knew.
No.
The country is red hot. It's being shaped now. What does it take to wake him again?
The tears Christ wept before the tomb of Lazarus.
You talk of Tom as if he were dead.
He asked me to order a new stone for Martha's grave. Do you understand Greek?
No. Translate it.
Roughly. If in the shades below the fires of friends and lovers cease to glow, yet mine alone will burn on through death itself.
After 9 years?
After 9 years.
Horse is ready.
Thank you, Jacob.
Yep.
I'll be damned if I'll serve on them anymore. You know what they're saying now? Dukes and lords we ought to have.
Dukes and lords?
Aye, the blood-sucking swindlers.
Pumper, Matt, pumper.
Well, what do they want to do? Make serfs out of us?
Is that what we fought Lexington and Bunker Hill for? Is this the freedom my brother and my sister's husband died for? Where's your goddamn revolution now?
Pumper, Matt, come on, pumper.
When I think of Marie and Louis in jail.
I haven't slept a wink since the palace fell. Dreadful. Did you read Fenno's piece in the Gazette today?
I never miss Fenno. Brilliant, wasn't it?
Oh, chef d'armes.
Véritable.
The situation seems to be growing worse, too. What do you think, Alec, of this French Republic?
It's dangerous, highly dangerous. I'm particularly disturbed by the effect it may have on some of our own inflammables.
You certainly lashed Mr. Jefferson on that score. Ma foi. Gave it to him, but proper.
Sugar.
Please.
Mr. Jefferson isn't one of those dreadful Democrats, is he?
I'm afraid so, my dear.
Does he really believe that every man is as good as every other man?
Even better.
Cream.
Please.
And our people seem so convinced of it. They can't wait to cut each other's throats. Here, try one of these.
Oh, yes. You saw it so clearly during the war, in the army.
Army. Colonel Humphreys.
So, this is one of these new cigars.
From the Spanish Islands. Army? It was no army. It was a mob. Only one man held it together.
The chief.
That's right, Washington.
Very interesting leaf.
Good. Good.
Well, I'm glad you like them, Henry. I've ordered a packet for you.
Why, thank you, Alec.
Not at all.
Yes, the chief made an army out of a rabble, all right. There's no doubt of that.
Yes? But to accomplish it, even he had to resort to the gallows and the lash. As with an army, so with a nation. You need one strong man.
The chief's getting old, though.
Exactly. Sometimes I lie awake at nights wondering how we can ever hold this country together when he's gone.
Personally, I think it's his character alone that does it. I wouldn't give a penny for the Constitution without him.
Well, its real value was only as a stepping stone. Wonderful flavor, eh?
A bit strongish. But I agree with Alec. A monarchy would have been our best salvation.
Only today I was talking to some of the ladies of our court on this subject. You go out in the streets, it's frightening. We all agreed the time is ripening for us to have a real king.
Hear, hear.
Senator Monroe is calling, sir.
Monroe? Well, what's he want? Show him in.
Yes, sir.
Now there's a country bumpkin. James Monroe. Poor Deligance.
He's a good soldier, though. Fought in almost every important battle of the war.
Soul of a clerk, though. I can't abide that.
He was, you know. He was a clerk in Jefferson's law office 10 years ago.
Still is, as far as I'm concerned. Now, I'll wager 10 to 1 he's here on some errand for Mr. Jefferson. Now, Mark, you'll see.
Senator Monroe,
Gentlemen, Colonel Hamilton.
Colonel Monroe, what an unexpected pleasure. You've met my lady?
Mrs. Hamilton, I was reluctant to intrude on your home.
Quite all right.
However, I've been trying to make an appointment with you at your office for several weeks.
Well, my office has been so busy. The new taxes. Cigar?
No, thanks.
From the Spanish islands?
No, thanks. I should like to speak with you alone, if I may.
My dear, it sounds ominous.
Well...
Private engagement with my wig maker.
No, gentlemen, stay, pray. What's on your mind?
I said alone.
Well, I'm sorry. I've had an exhausting day. I refuse to discuss business now. I'll see you at my office tomorrow at 4:30.
I'm seeing the president at 4.
Well, in the morning then.
I'm seeing him on a matter that concerns you.
Me? Indeed. Well, I wish you luck. You sure you won't have one of these cigars to smoke on the way?
No, thanks.
Well, in that case, you'll excuse us. Chandler?
Very well. I have some papers I intend to submit to the president. I wanted to give you a chance to explain.
Give me a I don't like your tone. I don't like it at all.
I thought you should be informed. There have been charges leveled against you.
What charges?
Of appropriating Treasury funds.
What? You dare to come into my house and accuse me
I'm not accusing you. I'm inquiring into the facts.
General Knox, will you act as my second?
Your servant.
Sir, you will name your friend to this gentleman. They can arrange weapons, time, and place. Good night.
I'd be very happy to oblige.
Show him out.
First, I must demand that you explain these letters.
Any man who dares
to
call
Mr. Reynolds.
Reynolds?
Yes.
I see. May I?
Is that your writing?
It is. This puts the matter on a different footing. I have no objection to a fair inquiry, and I think you are entitled to a frank answer.
We'll go, Alec.
I want you as a witness to this.
Of course.
If you will be at my office tomorrow evening.
I'm seeing the president at 4.
In the morning, then. Fortunately, I can supply you with all the letters and documents in this instance.
Mr. Reynolds charges that you gave him money out of the public treasury to speculate with on your behalf.
Where is Mr. Reynolds now?
I have no idea.
He's in jail. Subornation of perjury in a fraud case. You take the word of such a character?
Did you give him this money?
I did, but it was my own.
And why did you give money to such a character?
He was blackmailing me.
Alec!
What for?
A personal matter which has nothing to do with the Treasury. I'll prove that to your full satisfaction.
Under any circumstances, I shall ask for an accounting to Congress.
As a senator, that is your privilege, and I will oblige you. I will invite all America to judge the purity of my political motives. Not one penny of the public funds have I ever touched. I would sooner rip out my eye by the roots.
At your office. Tomorrow at 10?
10 will do.
If it's as you say, the matter will, of course, be kept confidential.
Oh, I'm sure it will. Tell him for me, Colonel Monroe. It would have been more manly, at least, for him to come here himself.
Who are you referring to?
Who sent you, Colonel Monroe?
No one sent me, Colonel Hamilton.
No one?
No one.
Quelle folie!
Henry, Humphreys, would you gentlemen
Of
excuse me?
course, Alec. We were just leaving. If there's anything we can do, anything at all, please call on us. All your friends will be at your disposal.
Believe me, it's not as serious as all that.
It's ridiculous, of course. A bagatelle. When I was at the court, there was such an incident.
Come, Humphreys.
Oh, yes, of course. Your servant, milady. Votre cher ami, Colonel.
Mrs. Hamilton? Alec?
Betsy, I tried to spare you this.
We'll go to Father. He'll help you, darling. I know he will. You mustn't worry.
God, it's not a question of money. Good God, do you think I'm an embezzler?
I only know you're in trouble. I want to help you.
Thank you. Thank you. You've been a wonderful wife, Betsy. Far better than I deserve.
What was this man blackmailing you for, Alec? What have you done?
I've been very foolish, Betsy.
Please, Alec, tell me.
When I wooed you, do you remember I said I wanted a wife who would love God but hate a saint?
What was this man blackmailing you for?
Philandering with his wife.
I see. Who is she? Do I know her?
No, it was a game they were playing together, she and her husband. He suddenly appeared one night, claimed I'd ruined his life, and threatened to inform you unless I paid him $1,000. He's been bleeding me dry ever since. Forgive me, dearest. I would do anything in my power.
Not talk about that now, Alec. The question is, what shall we do now to clear you?
My accounts are sound, Betsy. Congress will clear me.
Oh. Good then. Why didn't you tell me this before?
I didn't want to hurt you.
Then I wish to heaven you hadn't told me at all.
I'm forced to it, Betsy. Jefferson obviously wants to destroy my position as leader of the party. If these letters in his hands go unexplained, he could undermine belief in my honesty. I must be prepared to publish the facts if necessary. Betsy.
Please, Alec.
You do understand, don't you?
Oh, yes.
Believe me, I love you.
And slept with a harlot? Don't insult me, Alec. You never loved me.
Why did I marry you?
Was it because my father was General Schuyler?
And I the bastard brat of a Scotch peddler? I married you for your wealth and your position? Is that what you believe?
I don't know what to believe.
Excuse me, sir. Mr. Fenno is calling, sir.
Tell him to go away.
Show him in, Chandler. Show him in.
Yes, ma'am.
Betsy,
I don't care to discuss it.
You must listen to me. You must listen.
I don't care to hear any more now. I'm tired.
Mr. Fenno.
My dear Alec, I had to rush here and tell you we have just received some shocking news. I'm trembling so I can hardly talk.
What is it, Fenno?
The King and Queen of France have been executed. Guillotines.
Monstrous.
The mobs in France are utterly out of hand. Burning, looting, killing, a bloodbath. Unbelievable, isn't it? Simply unbelievable.
I was afraid of this.
And worse, I've heard ugly rumors here. Rufus King told me he'd heard open threats against us, even against General Washington.
I have no doubt of it.
I fear this is going to spread like the smallpox.
Yes, and who have we got to thank for it? Jefferson. Jefferson.
No, I don't think you would dare.
I tell you yes. The man's a lunatic. He's been encouraging our people to all sorts of wild illusions. Bill of Rights, freedom, liberty, license, anarchy. That man will stop at nothing to achieve chaos. But I tell you this, there'll be no more of him here. I promise you that. I will see to it. There is no longer any room in this country, in this world, for both me and that fanatic.
Evening, Mr. Tom.
Well, good evening, Jupiter.
We have a busy day? Supper's ready soon as you say.
I'm not very hungry, Jupiter.
You got to tuck something in you.
Later, perhaps.
Good supper. Basted pudding and chicken.
Thanks.
You just come from one of them cabinet meetings?
Yes.
Funny weather outside. Sticky. Yellow fog hanging all over Philadelphia. I heard today 10 white folks died of the fever.
More than that?
I don't like it none.
What's happened to your hand?
It's nothing.
Oh, come here, let me see. Oh, a nasty gash. There. Sit here. How did you do that, Jupiter?
When I did my marketing this afternoon.
This is going to sting a bit.
It's all right.
Does it hurt you? How did you do this, Jupiter?
Down at Bainbridge Market, just as I came out.
Yes?
3 men was talking. Mr. Jefferson's a devil, they say. Colonel Hamilton tell them you're going to bring the French Revolution here, murder everybody. I don't like that. I told them that ain't true. Ain't you Jefferson's nigger, they say? They say they're going to kill me. One of them tried to hit me on the head with a stick. I put my hand up, the stick had a nail in it.
Oh, Jupiter, haven't you learned yet?
They talk bad about you. What I'm going to do?
When an angry bull stands in your path, what do you do?
What do I do?
Well, a man of sense doesn't dispute the road with such an animal. He walks around it.
Yeah, I guess so.
What happened then, Jupiter?
Then a crowd came down the street yelling. There's a lot of crowds in the street.
Yes, I know.
These men see that crowd, they get scared and run away. Mr. Tom, this crowd in the street, they talking wild. Yelling, kill the aristocrats, break their windows, burn their houses, singing French songs.
Does that hurt you? Too tight?
They talking bad about President Washington.
Washington?
Yes. Now that get me all mixed up. I know he fight for liberty. That crowd get me mixed up. I don't like it. They just gonna make trouble.
I'm afraid you're right, Jupiter. You see, those people who beat you, they're monarchists. They want a king here. The others, the crowd, they're just mixed up. It's what's happening in France now. It's gone wild. How does that feel?
Oh, that's fine. It's just fine.
I wouldn't use that hand for the next few days.
No. Mr. Tom, looky here. Look who's here.
Father?
Patsy, darling.
Oh, it's so good to see you.
Dearest, what in the world?
I wanted to surprise you.
And it's a wonderful surprise. Jupiter killed the fatted calf, 2 for supper.
It's chicken.
Well, kill it anyway.
He got his appetite back. Look at his face. You sure good medicine, Miss Patsy.
Oh, where's your trunk?
The coachman left it outside.
I'll get it right away.
I'll fetch it, Jupiter. Your hand
That's all right, Mr. Tom. I can manage.
Jupiter, your wife sends you her love. And little Sarah.
You all right?
Of course. I brought you some presents I made for you.
Thanks, Miss Patsy. It's sure good to have you here.
Well, how's little Jeff? And my sweet Anne? And Maria? And Mr. Randolph? Here, give me your cloak.
Jeff has 2 new teeth.
2? Wonderful.
He's beginning to talk. Anne's growing so you'd hardly recognize her.
Does she still remember me, Patsy?
Of course. She's always playing that game you taught her. I love my love with an A. Oh, she's forever chattering about you. Where's Grandpapa? When's Grandpapa coming home? What presents is Grandpapa going to bring me? Maria sends love squeezes and kisses. We both adore the hats and veils.
Did they fit?
Perfectly.
The style was all right?
Oh, yes.
And how's your good husband?
Mr. Randolph's well, working hard. Doing the best he can with the overseer.
Is it always so close here in Philadelphia?
This is very bad weather. A contagious fever has broken out here.
So this is where you live?
Do you like my quarters?
A little gloomy, isn't it?
You must be exhausted. A glass of sherry?
I'd love it. Oh, Father, coming here, the coach had to stop. There was such a crowd of people up the street.
The French ambassador has been haranguing them lately. There have been a few disorders. Dry or sweet?
Dry, please. What's this? Another convenience of yours?
Oh, it's a copying machine. It's very handy. It makes duplicate copies of letters. I'll show you how it works.
Oh, Father, you and your inventions. You know, sometimes I think...
Has Maria learned to baste a pudding yet? In her last letter, she said Aunt Epps was teaching her.
Father.
Oh, now, dear, you don't want to read that.
Oh, my God.
Now, don't get upset, dear.
What sort of a newspaper is this?
It's the Court Journal. Our snobs nibble it for breakfast. Here, drink your sherry.
I heard what they were doing to you here, but this is worse than I could have possibly imagined.
Oh, it's very flattering, really. Especially this part about the harem. A harem at my age. Pretty good.
I don't see any humor in it. You'll answer these charges.
Answer one lie, they'll print 20 new ones.
Then what are you going to do?
Let's just ignore it, dear, shall we?
Who wrote it? Who's Pacificus?
I don't know. It's a pseudonym.
You must enjoy being the Secretary of State very much to put up with such abuse.
It's my job, dear.
Job. Father,
Yes, dear.
don't you think you've sacrificed enough?
I haven't suffered anything.
You haven't?
No.
A few weeks ago, I found a pamphlet Mother had written during the Revolution to the women of Virginia on the necessity for them to make sacrifices to help win the war. I remember Mother so ill she could hardly walk, doing 10 men's work at home. I remember after she died, sitting on the cold floor outside your door, hearing you sob till I thought you too must die. I remember hearing you cry out you'd sacrificed her to the Revolution.
Patsy.
The morning and afternoon of your life you sacrificed. Wasn't that enough?
Patsy, dear, please.
No. If you won't think of yourself, what of us? A child of 12 and a baby of 4, torn from our homes, from all we loved, taken to a foreign land, seeing you only on occasion, longing always for home and security and... Why? For this? Is there no end?
Patsy, I beg of
Don't you owe anything to yourself? Don't you owe anything to us? I tell you, Father, everything at home is going to pieces. If you don't come home soon, there'll be nothing left, nothing.
Patsy, for God's sake, stop.
Father, I didn't mean.
I know.
Forgive me.
Of course.
I've been so confused and unhappy lately. I had to come and talk it out with you.
I know, dear. I should have been very hurt if you didn't.
It's the business of running Monticello and the farms. We try. Lord knows, we try. But Mr. Randolph has no talent for it, and his failure makes him irritable. And I worry so. Oh, Father, I'm afraid you're going to lose everything.
I see. I see. I haven't been altogether insensible to this. It's weighed upon me very heavily, the trouble I put your good husband to.
I shouldn't have said anything. I know what your work here means to you.
I have never loathed anything so much in my life. Patsy, you've no idea of the rank and malignant hatreds here. Politics destroy the happiness of every being in the city. I'm surrounded here by lies and hate. Lately, I've seen men who were once pleased to call themselves my friends go so far as to cross the street to avoid tipping their hats to me.
You of all people, why?
There are a gang of king jobbers here who are bent on destroying our principle of government. By force, if necessary. Since Mr. Madison and Mr. Monroe have left, I'm alone against them. I can't contend with them, Patsy.
What of the president?
Only his strength and stubborn purity oppose them. But he's old and he's sick. I work here from morning till night. They undo everything. This isn't spending one's life here, it's getting rid of it.
My poor father.
Do you know, dear, my only pleasure? For an hour or so every evening, I sit and dream of Monticello. I find myself turning more and more to the past and to those I loved first. Your mother, she was a beautiful person, Patsy. She loved you all so dearly. You're right, Patsy. If I hadn't neglected my duties at home during the war, she would be alive today. It's true, I sacrificed your mother to the revolution. Now I'm doing the same thing to you. My darling, your happiness means more to me than my life. Like a fool, I've been jeopardizing it for the privilege of being called in the public prints a liar, lecher, thief, hypocrite. But no more. Everything's going to be all right, dearest. I promise you. From now on, I'm tending to my own. Patsy, would you please ring for Jupiter? The bell pulls there. Patsy?
Yes?
I have a job for you tomorrow.
Good. What is it?
I want you to help me select what furnishings and articles suit Monticello. I want you to pack and send them to Richmond.
To Richmond?
Yes, I'll be busy here for the next few weeks. But we'd better get them off at once while the shipping lanes are still seaworthy.
Yes, Mr. Tom.
Do you know where the president's home is?
Yes?
Please deliver this letter there at once.
After supper.
No, Jupiter.
My supper gets spoiled.
At once, Jupiter. We're going home. Together. To stay, Patsy. I'm resigning.
You going home, Mr. Tom?
Yes, Jupiter.
Going home.
Oh, Father, I'm so happy.
And that crowd again. This is good fuel for the Federalists.
What are they chanting?
I can't make it out.
Down with who?
Washington.
What?
Patsy, he's the only thing that stands between them and their enemies. When all our names have been sponged from the records, his will burn brighter wherever men fight for freedom. Well, all right, Jupiter. Run along. What are you waiting for? No, darling, this isn't going to make any difference. If our people won't deserve their liberty, nobody's going to save it for them. I'm going home.
It's a death cart. It's piled full. Yellow fever's everywhere. White folks dropping like flies.
You hear that?
I've never seen nothing like this.
Jupiter, take Mrs. Randolph at once to Germantown.
I shan't go.
Patsy, I'll join you there later and we'll go on home together.
I shan't leave you here alone.
I have work to finish.
Then I'll stay too.
You're a stubborn child.
I come by it honestly.
Mr. Tom, you have a visitor.
Colonel Hamilton?
Has the president arrived yet?
Not yet. My daughter, Mrs. Randolph, Colonel Hamilton.
He asked me to meet him here. I'll wait in my carriage.
You're welcome to sit here.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Father. Colonel Hamilton.
It's a fellow lying on the sidewalk, dead of the plague. It's not a pleasant sight. Sent my driver to fetch the death cart.
A bad business.
It's getting worse by the minute. You moving?
Yes. You must pardon our appearance. You'll excuse me.
Quite all right. Please don't let me disturb you.
The president should have left the city immediately.
You can be sure I ordered him out. Great man's a stubborn warrior, though. Can't budge him. Never could. The Gazette.
Yes.
I noticed an article in here referring to you. Read it?
I have.
Well phrased.
Brilliantly. And thoroughly untrue, Colonel Hamilton, thoroughly.
Now, come on now, Mr. Jefferson. You do well with the ladies.
So I see in the Gazette.
When I read this article, I said to myself...
It's commonly supposed, Colonel Hamilton, that you wrote it.
It's written by some person called
Pacificus.
Yes.
Peaceful. A proper pen name. Colonel Hamilton, almost since our first cabinet meeting, you and I have been thrown at each other like cocks in a pit. Well, the cockfight is over. Pacificus will soon have the cabinet to himself.
How is that?
Hasn't the president informed you?
No.
I've resigned.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm not. I'm very happy, Colonel.
Well, in that event, I rejoice with you.
Colonel Hamilton, you're going to your home in the country now to wait out the plague?
Yes.
I, too, will be gone in a few days. We may never see each other again.
Quite probably we won't.
I should like to ask you, as man to man, without rancor or warmth, is this fitting to the dignity of a minister of state?
Was it fitting the dignity of your high office to send your henchmen prying into my private life?
I never did that.
You thought I would keep silent, did you? You thought sooner than risk my personal happiness, I'd let you call me thief. Well, you see what you've done. Congress has cleared my public name, and I'm all the stronger for it. I didn't run away. However, in your case, I think it wise for you to run home and sit on your mountaintop. The philosophic experiment is over. Your democracy is finished.
Do you really think that?
I know it. I knew it 6 years ago. My God, aren't the omens clear enough? Even to a utopian. What do you think of your people now? Your fellow dreamer, Lafayette, in irons, rotting in a German jail? His only refuge from the very ones he sought to free. At that, he's lucky. If he hadn't escaped in time, even now his head would be lying in a basket, his blood flowing in the gutter, running into a river of the noblest blood of France for your drunken swine, the people, to swim in. I tell you, it nauseates me to the very heart. And now the same rioting mobs here, and next the same terror.
General Washington.
Gentlemen.
Mr. President.
In these times, Mr. President, no ass or feather pad. We can't afford to lose you, I beg of you.
Oh, very well, thank you. More than 2,000 dead already. This plague is worse than 100 battles of cannon.
You should have left the city immediately, sir.
I think I almost prefer to be in my grave than in the present situation. What does it all mean? Incredible. Aren't men fit to be free? Is that the answer? Have you spoken to the French minister?
Yes. One can't reason with him. He's a lunatic. I've demanded his recall.
They're all lunatics. Lafayette fleeing for his life. Lafayette! And now here, mobs rioting. What does this mean? Would you mind waiting below? I should like to talk with you.
I'll wait in your carriage. Your servant, Mr. Jefferson.
Mr. Hamilton.
I shall have to speak to him again. He's very difficult, but then he's always been that way. Once, during the war, when he was my aide, he kept me waiting 2 hours. When I rebuked him, he resigned. Salt like a little boy. Finally, I gave him what he wanted, a command in the field. He was a very good soldier. Led his troops in the first assault at Yorktown. He is an invaluable man. Why can't you two work together?
Our principles are as separate as the poles.
Coalesce them.
It can't be done.
Let me be the mediator.
You've tried before.
Let me try again.
It's no use. Believe me, neither of us could honestly sacrifice his belief to the other.
Well, I'm ordered back home. Any messages to Albemarle County?
My regards to Mr. Madison. And you might take a look at my new threshing machine. You get 8 bushels of wheat an hour out of 2 horses.
Well, I shall certainly examine it.
Tell Madison next spring we'll be planting our gardens together.
No, Tom, I'm afraid you won't.
Why not?
Your resignation, I can't accept it.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, you'll have to.
Where can I find anyone to replace you?
I don't flatter myself on that score. I've failed.
Let me be the judge of that.
I have spent 24 years in public life. My personal affairs have been abandoned too long. They're in utter chaos. I must turn to them and to my family.
And the good esteem of your fellow men?
There was a time when that was of higher value to me than anything in the world. Now I prefer tranquility. Here, for everything I hate, you ask me to give up everything I love. I'm sorry, no. I want a little peace in my lifetime.
I know. I know. I'm sick, Tom. And I'm getting old. And I catch myself dreaming of the Potomac and Mount Vernon. Don't you think I hate all this too? Don't you think I long for the peace of my own farm? Don't you think all this peace in our lifetime? Now where? Oh yes. It was Paine who wrote it. Was it in The Crisis? These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will in this crisis shrink. Oh, how that brings back the picture, as if it were yesterday. My men, starved, naked, bleeding. Paine's essay lent me new strength. I had it read to my men through trumpets, nailed on trees for them to read. It helped them, gave them sore needed courage. Do you remember the passage of the Tory innkeeper who was opposed to the war because... That's it. He wanted peace in his lifetime. And Paine looked down at the innkeeper's children crawling on the floor and thought, if this Tory were a man, he would say, if there must be conflict with tyranny, let it come in my time. Let there be peace and freedom in my children's time. Yes, I suppose that is the answer, the only answer. Tom, the fabric is crumbling. Our republic is dying. We must do something to bolster it somehow, some way. It must have a chance to survive. It will, I say. It will. I'll fight for that right with the last drop of my blood. You will stay on a few days longer till I can find someone else.
Yes.
Good. You see, I'm like a man about to be hanged. Even a few days' reprieve makes me rejoice. I wouldn't stay here. Go to the country, take your papers. You can work there. Mr. Jefferson.
Mr. President.
Father, look, I found this little music box. May I? Father, you're not ill.
No, dear.
May I get you something?
No, dear, I'm all right.
Anne will love it. Did the President accept your resignation?
Yes.
I spoke to him in the hallway just now. He looks so old, doesn't he? Father, please, please don't torment yourself so.
He's a dying man, Patsy. He's dying. When he's gone, they'll take the reins, and that'll be the end, Patsy. The end of the Republic.
Perhaps we weren't ready for it.
Well, if not here and now, where then? Where will man ever have such a chance again? This was my dream, Patsy, from my earliest youth.
You've done your best, Father.
Not good enough, apparently. Summer soldier. It was 17 years ago, here in Philadelphia, I wrote the Declaration of Independence. That was how I dreamed of America, Patsy, as a beacon for all mankind. Patsy, it's not our people who have failed us, it's we who have failed them. These fermentations are a healthy sign. Our people are groping. They're jealous of their rights. Good. They want a larger share in their government. Most of our people today haven't even the privilege of voting. That's where we've failed them, Patsy. It's not enough to create the form of a republic. We must make it work. We must see that our people have the right to vote. We must educate them to use it and be worthy of it. Only an enlightened people can really be free. Till now, the genius of the common people has been buried in a rubbish heap. We must rescue that. We must make war on poverty and ignorance. We must go out in the streets, the squares, the smithies.
Mr. Tom?
I beg your pardon. I didn't mean to.
Quite all right. Come in.
The President asked me to speak to you. He's greatly distressed.
I know he is.
He asked me to make an effort to coalesce our differences.
You think we can?
If you'd only stop regarding the Constitution as something handed down from Mount Sinai.
I see.
If we were to work together...
We're not.
Oh.
We are natural enemies.
Well, I offered peace.
The wolves offered the sheep peace.
You don't flatter me.
It is not an American art.
Now, I am an American by choice, not by accident.
Yet you bring here a lie, bred out of the vices and crimes of the old world.
Lie?
The lie that the masses of men are born with saddles on their backs, and a chosen few, booted and spurred to ride them legitimately by the grace of God.
Laughable. You, born to wealth and land and slaves, driveling about the common people.
Examine your own birth, Colonel Hamilton.
Now, don't say it, I warn you.
What? That as a boy you were poor, you came to this country, and it gave you honor and wealth. I believe that every child in this land must have that same opportunity.
Why do you think I want the country strong?
Well, it can only be strong if its people govern it.
You think the peasants on my farm can make it strong?
There are no peasants in America.
Words. What do I care for them? Call them yeomen, call them what you will. Men cannot rule themselves.
Can they then rule others? Have we found angels in the forms of kings and dictators to rule them?
I've made my last gesture. Go on, run back to your hill. But from here on, I promise you, you will never again dare raise your head in this party.
I hate party. But if that's the only way I can fight you, I'll create a new party. I'll create a people's party.
Now it comes out. You want two parties. You want blood to flow. At heart, you too are a Jacobin murderer.
Oh, that's another lie. You believe because you wish to believe it. Well, I'm sick to death of your silencing every liberal tongue by calling Jacobin murderer.
Aren't you confessing?
Go on. Invent your plots, your scares. We were asleep after the first labors, and you tangled us, and you tied us. But we have only to awake and rise and snap off your Lilliputian cords.
Very well. Let it be a fight. But make it a good one. And when you stir up the mobs, remember, we who really own America are quite prepared to take it back for ourselves from your great beast, the people.
And I tell you that once our people have their government securely in their hands, they will be as strong as a giant. They will sooner allow the hearts to be torn out of their bodies than their freedom to be wrested from them by a Caesar.
Good day, Mr. Jefferson.
Good day, Colonel Hamilton. Patsy, this is a fight that may take the rest of my life. I hate it, but I have to. I want Jeff and Anne and their children to grow up in a free republic. I have to, Patsy.
Of course you do. Of course you do, Father. I'll take it, Jupiter.
27th ballot just come up.
Thank you. In a minute.
The same.
Oh. No, I'm sorry. The Congress is still deadlocked.
Well, we heard Mr. Burr lost a vote to your father.
That's not true as far as I know.
No, I told them. I told you.
We elected Mr. Jefferson to be president. What's Congress fiddling around for anyway? What are they up to, Mrs. Randolph?
Is it true the feds are going to try to make just one of their own men president?
I can't say.
Mrs. Randolph.
All right, orders downstairs in the parlor. You get your returns there as soon as you will up here. Now stop a pestering, Mr. Jefferson. Give a man a little privacy when he's downstairs in the parlor. Everyone's so worked up, you know.
Out of my way! One side! Tom Jefferson here?
What is it?
Message from Governor Monroe in Virginia.
Here.
You're Tom Jefferson?
Yes.
Governor Monroe said to deliver it to you personal.
Thank you. Sit down.
Don't mind us standing. You rid my horse hard all the way from Richmond. She's got a mean job. Governor Monroe's waiting on your answer.
There's no answer yet.
Nothing settled yet on the election?
No. You'd better stand by.
Yep.
Mrs. Conrad, would you see that this gentleman gets something warm to eat? Jupiter, would you saddle a fresh horse?
Yes, Mr. Tom.
I'll tend to it right away, Mr. Jefferson. Nathan?
Yes, ma'am?
Fix up some victuals right off.
Perhaps you'd like a drink.
Oh, well, thank you, ma'am. Now, that's a Christian thought.
Gramp, play with me.
Jeff, Grandpapa's busy.
Come on, Gramp.
Later, Jeff. I have a new game to teach you.
A new one?
A good one.
Is it like riding a horse to market? Oh, goody, I'll get through.
Children, go inside.
No. They don't disturb me. I want them here.
And that washes the dust down.
I just come from the Capitol. I've just come from the House of Representatives. I had to push my way here. The streets are jammed with people. I've never seen so many human beings.
Jemmy, you look like a dead one.
I am. The 27th ballot came up.
Yes, we just got the message.
You should see Congress. What a spectacle. They fall asleep in their chairs, on their feet, red-eyed, haggard.
Is Mr. Nicholson's fever any better?
Worse. He's resting in a committee room. He has about enough strength to sign his ballot.
Who's tending him?
His wife's by his side, giving him medicine and water.
He ought to be removed to a hospital.
He won't budge. Insist he'll vote for you till he dies. I doubt whether he'll survive another night. Tom, there's an ugly rumor going around. The crowds are getting angry.
It's more than a rumor, I'm afraid.
God, how's this going to end?
I've been talking to my husband, Mrs. Randolph, and we both decided the whole way of voting now just ain't right.
Agreed.
Take my husband. He wanted your father for president and Mr. Burr for vice president. Well, he should be allowed to write that down on the ballot instead of just the two names and letting Congress decide. Stand stands to reason, don't it? You see what happens. We beat the Federalists, then the old Congress, most of them feds themselves, don't know who to pick. Deadlock 6 days now. They might like us not go on being deadlocked 4 years. We'd have no presidents at all. Now, I say it's deliberate. Everybody's saying that.
They are?
Stands to reason.
We should have foreseen this difficulty. We certainly bungled the electoral system.
Constitution's got to be changed so a man can put down who he wants for president.
Well, it can be amended. That's the great virtue of the Constitution. It can grow.
If we ever have the chance to amend it. Tom, I'm worried sick by this.
Does Monsieur Jefferson live here?
In the parlor, down in the parlor.
It's all right, Mrs. Conrad.
Oh, excuse me. I thought he was one of my boarders.
Monsieur Jefferson.
Yes, young man.
You do not remember me? 12 years ago. Paris.
You're... Of course. You're Lafayette's boy.
Yes, sir.
I've been expecting you. We heard you were in America. You remember Patsy? George Washington Lafayette.
Of course.
She has not changed one little bit. Only more beautiful, if possible.
He's Lafayette's son, all right.
He has the gift. These are my grandchildren.
My daughter, Miss Anne Randolph.
Monsieur Lafayette?
Miss Randolph?
Monsieur George Washington Lafayette. My son, Thomas Jefferson Randolph.
This is my friend, Mr. Madison.
The father of your immortal Constitution. My veneration.
Immortal. It's running a high fever at the moment. The next few days, the next few hours may tell whether it's going to live at all or die in hemorrhage. Tom, I'm as nervous as a cat. I haven't slept a wink in 3 nights.
Well, go inside and lie down.
No.
Patsy,
no.
fix up the bed for Jemmy.
No, please, I couldn't. Just let me sit here.
We're passing through a terrible storm here.
I'm sorry to come in the midst of all this.
Well, tell me, how is your father?
He's out of prison now.
Yes, I'd heard. I haven't written to him because things here, too, have been so bad the last few years. My letter would never have reached him. How does he look?
6 years in prison.
They haven't broken his spirit.
That they will never break.
No.
He asked me to explain he dare not write. Bonaparte watches him. He's only free on a string.
I had hoped that Bonaparte would value the true glory of a Washington as compared to that of a Caesar.
When we heard he died, my father wept like a child.
A great man fell that day. America must now walk alone.
Here, forgive me. This is not the America I expected. This is like when Bonaparte came to us.
Well, there is an ominous note in this dissension. You've sensed it. Our own little Bonaparte may step in with his comrades at arms and force salvation on us in his way.
That must not be. This is the message my father asked me to deliver. Tell Jefferson the eyes of all suffering humanity are looking to America. It's their last hope on earth.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Message.
Thank you.
What is it, Tom?
A group of the Federalists are meeting tonight.
To set aside the election?
Possibly.
Like hell they will. Nobody's going to take my republic from me.
Well, you're right, my friend. I'm afraid you won't have time for that meal now. Would you please see if your horse is ready?
Yeah.
Patsy, I think you'd better plan on going home.
Very well, Father.
I don't know how long this will keep up. I don't know how it will end.
Horse is saddled and out front.
To Governor Monroe, with my compliments.
Yes, sir.
Give your horse the spur.
I don't like to win, Mr. Jefferson. No fear.
When do you want us to leave?
At once.
There's going to be serious trouble.
I don't know, Patsy.
General Hamilton? Again? Is there no end to that man's malevolence?
Hamilton. But during the war, he was my father's friend, too.
People changed here after the war, Monsieur Lafayette. The real revolution's been fought in the last 6 years.
And our people have won, Monsieur Lafayette. Through the ballot, they've taken the government into their own hands. But now, the Federalists intend to drag everything down with them rather than admit defeat.
They've turned President Adams completely against my father, one of his oldest friends.
This shocks me.
Do you know why he didn't write your father all these years? He couldn't. They opened his mail. They twisted phrases he used in his letters and printed them against him.
These are things, Patsy, that are best forgotten.
Father, there are men in the streets with guns. They're expecting Hamilton and his troops. They say they'll be shooting.
Mr. Jefferson.
General Hamilton.
You dare.
Pat, go inside, please.
Very well, Father. Come along, children.
General Hamilton, Monsieur George Washington Lafayette.
Lafayette? You're his son?
Yes.
Of course. I knew your father well. He was my friend.
He often speaks of you. He was yours.
Gentlemen.
I'll go with you if I may.
Come along. You'll dine with us in precisely 23 minutes.
23?
On the dot. Mrs. Conrad runs her boarding house along democratic lines. The early birds get the choice cuts.
Monsieur Hamilton.
What can I do for you, General Hamilton?
Nothing. But I can do something for you. I'm not going to equivocate, Mr. Jefferson. I still despise you and everything you represent.
Chair, General?
Is that understood?
Pretty widely, I think. Chair?
Thank you. So, this is your city of Washington, eh? A mud hole.
A few sidewalks and trees, and it will do.
First day we met, this was born.
Yes.
You remember?
Oh, yes.
Well, who's it to be? Aaron Burr or you?
Congress will decide.
I have some friends in that body. I can influence this decision for or against you, I believe.
I'm certain of that.
Certain? I'm not. You'd be astonished, Mr. Jefferson, at the number of gentlemen who, no matter what I counsel, would vote for the devil himself in preference to you.
Yes, that's quite probable.
Not that I approve of it. I don't. In matters of the public good, men must use their reasons, not their passions. I believe I can swing Congress over to you, if you accede to certain conditions.
I see.
One, I want your solemn assurance that you will continue all my friends in the positions they now fill. Two,
I'm sorry.
You refuse.
This time, no bargains.
Bargains? What puny channels your mind runs in.
No need to shout, General.
I'll raise the roof if I please.
The grandchildren.
Excuse me.
Well, this is like old times, General.
Do you have any idea how dangerous the situation has become?
Yes.
I came here to compromise. I hope to avert the more drastic alternative. But the years have made you even more pig-headed, if possible. I might have spared myself the trouble.
I couldn't enter the presidency with my hands tied.
Don't concern yourself. You won't enter it at all. My friends are meeting tonight. You oblige them to set aside this election altogether and choose their own man.
They would be smashing the Constitution.
Stretching it.
Smashing it, I say. Have you seen the crowds about the Capitol building?
A pistol shot and they're dispersed.
Don't deceive yourself. These people will not be set aside. From Maryland, 1,500 men met last night, resolved. If anyone dares usurp the presidency, they will come here in a body and assassinate him. From Governor McCain of Pennsylvania, from Governor Monroe of Virginia, their militia are ready to march at a moment's notice. If you set aside this election tonight, tomorrow morning there will be blood in the streets.
I'm an old soldier, Mr. Jefferson. If you give us no alternative,
Yes, but you have an alternative. End this deadlock at once. Make Aaron Burr president.
Aren't you being whimsical?
Well, I should honestly prefer that.
So you want Aaron Burr to be president?
He's a superior man. Energetic, believes in our people.
God, you're gullible. I know the man. He despises your democracy more than I. Yet he has chimed in with all its absurdities. Why? Because he is cunning and audacious and absolutely without morality, possessed of only one principle: to get power by any means and keep it by all.
Now that's an opinion.
That's a fact. He has said it to my face a dozen times.
He has sworn the contrary to me.
Burr has been bankrupt for years, yet he spends vast sums of money on this campaign. Where do they come from?
I don't know.
What do you think has been the sole topic of conversation at his dinner table? To whom are the toasts drunk? Can you guess?
No.
The man who supplies his funds. The man with whose agency is in daily conference.
What man?
Bonaparte.
Bonaparte? I can hardly believe it.
Proofs, if you wish them. Burr is the Cataline of America. He'll dare anything. Once president, he'll destroy all our institutions, usurp for himself complete and permanent power, make himself dictator.
I know you have no faith in them, but do you honestly believe that the American people would stand idly by?
No, I have no faith in them. But they'd fight, I grant you that, and there'd be bloody civil war. And that's all Bonaparte would need. He would swoop down on us like that. Now you know my motive. I'm afraid. I'm profoundly afraid for the happiness of this country. This is excellent. I've commissioned one of the great men to be sculpted for myself. You've been duped, my friend.
I suspected only you.
Of what?
Of planning to be our Bonaparte.
When Washington died, I could have. Why didn't I?
Why?
Burr asked me that question contemptuously. This may be hard for you, but try to grasp it. I happen to love this country too. I have fought for it, in field and in council. Above every small, selfish, personal desire, I want to see it peaceful, and prosperous, and strong. Well, will you meet my terms?
I can't.
My conscience is clear. I know how to proceed.
If you do this, it can only lead to the very thing you condemn.
Perhaps. Perhaps that is the only hope for us in a world of Bonapartes and Burrs.
Then what will we have gained?
Good day, Mr. Jefferson.
I warn you, there will be bloodshed tomorrow.
No, there won't. You see, I'm counting on you. You will prevent it.
You're wrong, my friend.
You'd condone it?
I'd be a part of it.
You really mean it?
By the God that made me, I mean it. I'd open my veins and yours in a second.
You've become a tough old man.
Who made me tough?
Then I haven't lived in vain.
Well, that's right. You listen to me, Hamilton.
This is strange.
Listen to me. I know you love this country, but you have never understood it. You're afraid of Bonaparte. You needn't be. Bonaparte will die, and his tyrannies will die, and we will be living, and we will be free. You're afraid of Burr? If Burr tries any quixotic adventures, he will smash himself on the rocks of our people. This is the mistake you have always made. You have never properly estimated the character of the American people. You still don't understand them at this moment.
I confess it. I don't.
This is not the way, Hamilton. Believe me, if you really love this country, this isn't the way. Our people who fought the revolution from a pure love of liberty did not expend their blood and substance to change this master for that, but to grasp their freedom in their own hands so that never again would the corrupt will of one man oppress them. You cannot fix fear in their hearts or make fear their principle of government. I know them. I place my faith in them. I have no fears for their ultimate victory.
Wish I had such faith. I don't know. I frankly don't know. I find myself lost here. Day by day, I am becoming more foreign to this land.
And yet, you helped build it.
There's a tide here that sweeps men to the fashioning of some strange destiny, even against their will. I never believed in this. And yet, as you say, I helped build it. Every inch of it. And still, it has worked better than I thought. If it could survive.
It can. And it will. This tide is irresistible. You cannot hold it back. You may deflect it for a moment, but in the end you will lose. Try the old ways of usurpation and tyranny, and you must lose. Bonapartes may retard the epoch of man's deliverance, yet still, in the end, they will fall back exhausted, leaving mankind to liberty and self-government. No, General Hamilton, this way you lose. Believe me. I shall not compromise, General Hamilton. You do whatever you choose. I cannot compromise on this.
Since the fever took me, I can't hit the side of a barn with a pistol. Burr is as cool as a snake, and one of the best shots in America. If I cross him in this, he will challenge me, I have no doubt of it. I'm a dead man already. But at least you are honest. I will urge my friends to break the deadlock. You will be president. Your victory is complete.
There is no personal victory in this for me. I didn't want this for myself. I still don't. If it will be any satisfaction to you, my own affairs have been neglected for so long. In another office, with time to mend them, I might save myself from bankruptcy. As president, I'm bound to lose everything I possess, including Monticello, where my wife and 4 of my children lie, where all the dreams of my youth lie. Oh, no matter. I thank you for a glorious misery. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. Friends and fellow citizens, called upon to undertake the duties of the first executive of our country, I will avail myself of the presence of that portion of my fellow citizens which is here assembled to express my grateful thanks for the favor with which they have been pleased to look upon me. A rising nation spread over a wide and fruitful land, expanding rapidly toward destinies beyond the reach of mortal eye. When I contemplate these transcendent objects, when I see the honor, happiness, and hopes of this beloved country committed to the issue of this day, I shrink before the magnitude of the undertaking. Utterly indeed should I despair, if not for the presence of many whom I see here. To you, then, I look for that guidance and support which may allow us to steer with safety the vessel in which we are all embarked amid the conflicting elements of a troubled world. This is the sum of good government. Equal and exact justice for all men of whatever state or persuasion, a jealous care of the right of election, absolute acquiescence to the decisions of the majority, the vital principle of republics, from which there is no appeal but to force, the vital principle inherent to despotism. Freedom of religion, freedom of press, freedom of person, and trial by juries impartially selected. These form the bright constellation which has gone before us and guided us in an age of revolution and reformation. The wisdom of our sages and the blood of our heroes have attained them for us. Some honest men believe that a republic cannot be strong, that this government is not strong enough. But would the honest patriot, in the full flood of successful experiment, abandon a government which has so far kept us free and firm on the theoretic fear that it may want energy to preserve itself? I trust not. I believe, on the contrary, this is the only government where every man would fly to the standard and meet invasions of the public order as a matter of his own personal concern. I believe this is the strongest government on earth. I believe, indeed I know, this government is the world's best hope